session, I would request Professor R.K. Pandit to make his presentation first. Professor R.K. Pandit.
Thank you, Mr. Verma. Well, there was a very thoughtful deliberations in the morning. Keeping that in mind and keeping the aspirations of a couple of my friends here, rather than going for the existing presentation, which is going to be the part of the document also, I had been known across the architecture fraternity, whether it's a council or I or any other body for that matter, being radical in my thoughts, unfortunately. So I'm thinking to start with my radical thoughts only and then go back to the academia, what academia has been taught of. When I look at the 3 steps, turmoil, opportunities, future course, I would like to correct them. Turmoil, turmoil, turmoil. That's what is existing. We have a turmoil altogether, whether it's in education, whether it's in profession, or whether it's in institutions, how they are running it. There are a couple of points which were addressed in the morning by my friend Puneet Sethi, sir. He wanted some clarification. I think being involved in the various levels in the education, it becomes my necessity at least put forward my point of thinking. One was the admission process, NATA. I don't know how many of you are involved with the NATA creation, how the NATA is being conducted, or for that matter, how IIAA or JEE is conducting the design papers, architecture papers so-called. We were involved. To my surprise, the bank, altogether in both the cases, is so ridiculous that we don't expect a student who can answer it at that level. That's why we are getting the students what we are getting it. Because if you don't get a good students, you are not going to be the best institution. IITs are best because they get the best students. We are not getting best students. Why? The question mark still stands. Barring few institutions, they may be getting, SPA may be getting. Entrance, big issue which has come for the last 4 or 5 years. We had a very hot discussion on the issue. Why is physics and chemistry? Indeed, I repeat the same words which I had repeated in the council seminar also, that those who cannot be CAs, those who cannot be doctors, those who cannot be engineers, or those who don't aspire any of those fields, or even a simple clerk in a bank, we want to make them architect. Because we have brought down the structure in such a way that with the maths 12th, come in the architecture. The objective was nothing more than that, to fill the private architecture schools. Nothing more than that. I'm sorry if it hurts the sentiments of somebody, but that is a fact. Teaching. Professor Vatt says very finely, buffaloes and pigs. Not buffaloes and pigs. I'm an unfortunate person who has visited more than 100 schools in the country. On one side, there's a buffalo pig culture. I say it's a culture. On the other side, I find the culture where I find a beautiful drawings, beautiful work done. Where from the work has come? The work has come from some professionals. It's just for the case of only the day the inspection has to happen, the drawings are there. This is the first year. I say, why from the first year these drawings can be made? So much precision. Unfortunately, that's the situation. To add to it, in couple of experiences, when we are coming back, I find the faculty is also at the airport. I said, why are you going, all of you? Sir, our job is over. That's the scenario. I find the situation when you say that this school cannot start I don't want a name. Some of you are sitting here, they know the name also. This school cannot start, but the team is changed. One fine morning, I get a brochure on my mail. School has started. So much intake. Why? Because the school was headed, we had stopped the school run because the school was headed by a chap who was so-called doctorate in chemistry. We had people who were from physics. We had from maths. We had nobody from architecture. And they say, sir, this school has to run. We will appoint them. But how? One day they are getting the admissions. We are finding the best school charging the highest in the country, forgetting about the economics structure of the country. And faculty is purely meager. They cannot sustain the studio classes at all. But that is a status across the country. I'm not talking of, we may be worried about what is happening in the north. It's happening in the south. It's happening in the east. It's happening in the west. I hope a couple of you must have got the mails. Faculty required, professor, reader, or associate, or lecturer, or so, for inspection purposes. You must have got it. Let the January month come, you will start getting the mails. Please join. For 5 days, 10 days, and fictitious appointment letters are made. Everything is fictitious, which is very difficult that you can ascertain out of it. To my surprise, unfortunate part, which was I think the last nail in the coffin, when the process of inspection was broadened. Some numerical system started. Nobody knows what this numerical system comes up. And at the end of that, this numerical system was scrapped and told that it has no relevance. The institutes which were getting 90, 98, 95 are getting 1 year extension of approval because you have put the people who didn't have any experience as of now how the inspection is to be carried, but they fortunately or unfortunately like me attended that one-day workshop, so-called, and I was trained, and my 30 years are gone, or somebody's 30 years are gone, whatsoever, whatever was in practice, that is gone, because I had put a one-day workshop where I had a beautiful lunch, and I had paid from my pocket the fare for coming and going, and I was accepted as an expert by the Council of Architecture, and that's the status. The chap is with me, and he says, sir, I have to go. I said, where? I want to go for some shopping. You are an expert, you can do it. I said, I am expert, I can do anything. But that is the fact, it is happening. I'm sorry to say, rather than calling it as Council of Architecture, dash, 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 when we were kids, when we were studying in the architecture school, we thought, why it's not Council of Architecture India? I'm putting a first question mark on that itself. Council of Architecture, it has become Council of A state, B state, tomorrow it may be C state, or for that matter, now it is a Council of Maharashtra or Council of Pune. Where is the rest? It's gone. Nobody is bothered. My friend is worried. What is happening? So many colleges have opened. Why is a database? Nobody has a database. Do we really need so many architects? I agree with what Professor Das said in the morning. Rather than I will slightly change the character of the word, mutation, I will say it's more hibernation has happened. What has happened? So many fields have come, and we are thinking so many colleges, so many architects will be required. Please tell me honestly, do we have so many faculty members? No, we don't have. Do you think a professional will leave his job and go for 2 hours and teach in the colleges? No, I don't agree with it. I don't personally believe. Where is the hardcore faculty? That is not there. Where is the research component? Very pointedly, very sharply asked, do we carry the research? Professor Sanjeev Mitra said, right, we do research right from the first day. That's what is architecture. I remember, unfortunately, being involved, and I may be excused for using the terms in my presentation, more technological terms, because you get influence wherever you move. My movement had been more in the technical fields, and being a part of the technical college, you start using those terms. When we talk about the research, when we talk about the education, when we talk about academia, they are all integrated part of one system. I repeat the two words, they are all integrated part of the system. An architect or architecture student is doing every day a research. It's a bankruptcy of our own minds where we are unable to create patents. Rather, there can be thousands and thousands of patents. Every architect is inventing and reinventing every day something or the other. But unfortunate part is we have not thought of it. That era is not open, that book chapter has not been opened for the architects. We thought, no, it's something like that. When we joined architecture as a faculty, we said, you don't need to go for higher education. One fine morning, the increments were stopped. Then people thought, why? No, the rules have changed. That's what has happened in the profession itself. Somebody was asking me in South, sir, can you define what is the difference between architecture students and engineering students and the medical students? It's a very tricky question. I never wanted to hurt the sentiments of somebody saying my architecture is a creator, he's a god, or he's something like that, as it has been spoken in the past or criticized in the past. I said the difference it makes, you bring the two students, let them enter the college the same day, you will find an architecture student changed within 24 hours. Well, what changed? I said, we have students, they are professionals from the day one. You make them professionals after 4 years. That's the difference. We give them the attitude of professionalism right in the first day. You give them after 4 years. That's the difference what is architecture and other fields. That's how it works. That's how we do it. Anyway, these were some radical thoughts. Please excuse me if I am gone out of the box and out of the way, because thinking out of the box is a crime in our society. And speaking out of the box means bigger crime. When I was asked to speak something, always it had been in my mind, because by my own experimentation, which fails, sometimes succeeds, sometimes fails, sometimes succeeds. This integration word, can we really integrate the profession with academia? Did our forefathers do something? Did our forefathers do something which was wrong? Was it wrong? They thought the process through which education system had to come up. Was it wrong to craft an Architects Act? Was it wrong the way the act has been crafted? Or was it wrong that the way it is being seen by all of us with different eyes? Same lines, 1972 Act, we look it differently. We think it differently. I strongly believe the most important thing for any education, wherein later on comes the profession, is the core structure of the education. What you really teach. Then we go bisecting at the back, at the institution level. What you really teach. What we really want to derive from an individual. What do you really want to give him? What kind of information you want to channelize so that knowledge base in his mind can be created. Keeping that in mind, I still always feel that whatever the philosophies were given in the past, whether by our father of the nation or somebody else, they were not wrong. They thought something, you need to understand the meaning of that. You need to think, have the meaning of those things. I go back to the basic philosophy of what our former president said. Looking at the last line, the talented technical manpower required for the generation of this push will undoubtedly be provided by the technical education system of the country. Why I'm stressing on the line, the big question has come in the minds of all of us. Are we a part of technical education? That's a big question in our mind. If yes, then where is the basic, which I was speaking, basic science are we taking into consideration when we are admitting the students? Why is that PCM or something ABC, whatever it was? If not, we are not in technical education, then where do we stand? Have you thrown some of the head of the schools? Have you thrown a letter to the council and reply you have got? Let me take one case. You throw a letter and ask them what scales are to be implemented for the faculty of architecture. You will get the answer, a letter drafted, signed by, on behalf of the President and Executive Council of the Council of Architecture, on dated so and so, it was decided to implement the scales for the Faculty of Architecture as per the UGC norms, number so and so, so, so. We found this typical problem in one of the inspections. And when say the UGC scales, the institution had only 2 tiers. They said, we don't have a post-graduation. UGC scale says only 2 tiers. And my faculty there is saying, sir, we have 3 tiers. A chap cannot become an associate because he is supposed to be senior most. He is kept as an assistant professor. And associate cannot be a professor because it is not PG college. So these are the typical issues. And I said, what did the council say? They showed me the letter. I had a copy of that. I went to the President of Council of Architecture. I asked him, Professor, tell me what is this? Well, yes, this is this. I said, this is not the answer. You need to regulate. You say regulation 1983. Where are the details of those regulations? Why don't you print them? Why don't you bring them to the public notice that this is what it should be there? So the basic question lies, if we are in technical education, what we really need. I firmly believe, whether all of you agree or not, but I strongly believe in the philosophy that architecture is a part of technical education. We cannot go away, shy away from the fact that architecture cannot be part of technical education. Time has changed. We are looking for hibernation with many fields, many societies, many international collaborations. We have to look at scientifically, technically more than looking at artistically. I may agree or disagree whether we should use the modern tools of technology in teaching or in the field of education or not. It will all depend upon the philosophy of the school. But it is a part of technical education. Keeping that thing in the mind, I crafted certain things that we have to follow what our forefathers said. We have to follow a technical education system structure. But does that technical education system of engineering has to be followed by us? No. We need to look back into the basic components of the education, what really we want to give. It reminds me of a very old theory of philosophy of Garnier. He said that human beings have 7 intelligentsias. What we really need, we want to create a knowledge base. If we want to create a knowledge base, we need to have an information. If we have the information, knowledge base cannot be created. Experimentation globally has shown you may push a lot of information in the brains of different people, but they can't store it because they find problem in storing it, because they have not developed these intelligentsia factors. This is not my philosophy, this is a Garnier's concept that human beings had to be trained for all these 7 intelligentsias, whether it's a linguistic, logical, which is mathematical, musical, or anything. And I personally feel all these intelligentsia factors are strongly needed in architects. It may be component-wise required as far as engineers or something else is. They have to look into that issue, but sorry. But as far as architects are concerned, they need to develop all these characteristics in themselves. Unless they don't develop these characteristics, they cannot be successful in the field. If you look any of those, it is not my philosophy, you will find that, yes, this character is this much. How much it is important, how much is not important is a separate issue. That's a mathematical model. Every person may develop its own, or future research may show something like that on that. But what we are having, a teaching model, there is a content, there is an input. A teacher comes in the class, teaches. And some processes are going, some have tests, some have something, examination process, and there is an output. At the end, student is concerned about the output, a professional is concerned about the quality of that output. We have never tried to correlate the two together, the quality of that component. Let me share with you our engineering fraternity, as it was spoken in the morning also. There should be, whether it should be one body or whether it should be 3 bodies, they have gone for the accreditation process. They had mapping system, which even got scrapped. They are using the Rubik system for the mapping. That Rubik system is such a complex that even the bigger minds sitting together takes months together to draft what Rubik's actually you need for a one component of component of the course. Do we not need that? Do we need an output to put in and show that this is what we should be rated like this? No, unfortunately, whatever has been spoken in the morning, everything is relevant one way or the other. We need to concentrate on all these points. We don't have to go for the normal kind of a teaching process. What we do, what we have process. We talk something, we say. We never go for the something speaking beyond the syllabi. Are we going? Are we teaching beyond syllabi? No. A basic one question, I think, I'm sorry, even I don't know the answer. Please don't take it otherwise. What should be the size of a letter on a blackboard? We can ask everybody individually to each one of us. Do we know? I don't know. He's a genius if he knows, anybody. We'll talk over at that in the lunchtime. But that size is such an important thing, we need to know about it. We have certain these deliveries what we are carrying day to day, everybody. Technical education, we have more theoretical aspects. Things are being taught computerized. Their compartment design is going separately. Our construction is going separately. Allied subjects are going separately. The integration is not at all existing. But what is desired? Something has to be done. That has to be implemented as far as our future is required. In the whole structure, I try to craft a space for professionals. I don't believe on the concept a professional comes and takes 4 classes and goes, or 2 lectures and goes, or 2 deliveries and goes. I believe he should be integrated right from the first day, first year to the top. That is the way there can be a real integration system which can help in creating a future manpower of a perfection. Keeping that in the mind, I will not go into detail. I think time is short. You can read all this. I'll just push it and what we require the academia of various forms and shapes and a professionalism of different spectrum. Spectrum which has colors to adopt, spectrum which has space for those young students who need to be professional for tomorrow. We need a curriculum that is based on the basic linguistical 7 intelligentsia format. I had derived certain things which you can read it out, and a structure which I call as integrated structure or curriculum integration structure or integrated structure, where there is a vertical integration which a student and a faculty does it, where there is a horizontal integration which a student with the student happens, and it is crafted in the structure. Not they casually do it, because we have an experience when there is a NASA, students work very rigorously. Why? There is a horizontal integration. But we never thought to bring this horizontal and vertical integration together and to classify it more strongly a diagonal integration through professionalism right from the first point to the last point. This integration can have many aspects. This integration can have many aspects. I defined the vertical integration interpretations of the design, and horizontalized science and technology integrations. Diagonal integration, which will be multidisciplinary, because when the professionals will come, there will be different kind of exposures. There will be different kind of exposures that can be adopted, that can be accepted. There had been a question in the morning, what should be the level? Let's make it 3 years. Somehow, I think we were the first to start in our school a scheme, even though it didn't exist anywhere in the country, 4+1 scheme. We said, no, let us throw the students out in the 4th year itself. A lot of letters were coming from the council. I said, no, we are going to do it, and we have done it. Our university, the governor of the state has accepted it, and there is no authority above it. Our ordinances say now 4+1, because we started, we gave a first batch somewhere 4 or 5 years back. Others were still thinking whether to go for it or not. But looking at that particular structure, there were many psychological problems that we adopted, that more professionalism should come. Initially, it was a very, I can say, hanky-panky, thank you job kind of a thing students were sent. We devised a structure in which a professional and the institution interacts on daily basis. What is really happening? And in the second stage, from last year itself, when the second batch came in that, we called it as partnering with the professionals. Now the professionals are the partners basically in that particular process. That grading system, they will do it, we will not do it. Acceptance of grading will be done by them only, not by us. So that they become more conscious about not keeping an additional manpower for tea and coffee, rather than for some professional activities. Based on that, some program tools, I developed it. One thing which I would like to add it here is the last line, last but one third line. We need to teach a professional course. We have to make course-oriented architecture program rather than making it as something which is very rigid. There has to have flexibility. They may call it as, IITians call it as the structure where they have 12 degrees or 1 degree. We call it as add-on courses in that. Based on that, a model is developed where there is a relationship of 2:1:1, where the weightage for, because the psychometer is basically a weightage which will be by the professional. So 25% of, whether you can talk in the teaching or whether you talk in the learning or whether you talk in terms of grading or marking, wherever you want to put it, it has to be 25% in the professional, so that that partnering system has to be clearly identified and understood by everyone. Based on that, rest of the reading is available. There's a lot of material on the subject in the detailed course structure. Any one of you may be interested, he can just mail me. I would like to thank you all. Whether, as John Locke said, whether you agree or disagree with me, it's your choice. Thank you all, sir.
Thank you, Professor Pandit, and also thanks for reminding all of us about the Act and the regulatory body. There are a lot of things which needs to be done. Most of the time it has been said or has been heard from individual professionals, okay, what can I do? I am only an individual, I cannot do. It only reminds me of something what recently was mentioned at the National Convention of Indian Institute of Architects in Mumbai about 10 days back. A small half-a-minute story that a jungle was on fire. All the animals were running away from the jungle, including the lion. But while everyone was running away from the forest which was on fire, suddenly the lion saw one small bird going to the water body, taking some water in the beak and flying towards the fire. That lion said, what are you going to do? It's not going to make any difference. The bird said, let me do my bit, whether it helps or not. Maybe what requires is all of us have to do our bit and not be unconcerned about the situation, what the education and profession is in today. Each one's individual contribution is important. With this, I thank thank Professor Pandit again.